Hi everyone, I'm Karaleise and today we're going to be talking really quickly about user stories. So user stories are agile methodology artifacts, and they're probably one of the most important ones actually, and they are just short descriptions of functionality with benefit to the user. So the most important thing when you're writing user story is to, one, focus on the user. So everything you're doing, every functionality you're creating in the system needs to be of benefit to the user. So you have to first identify who are the users. Sometimes you might have just a regular user, maybe it could be like a subscriber, maybe it could be a manager, maybe it could be an admin user, maybe it could be just, whatever the roles are that will be using your system. You need to identify those, and your user story needs to call that out. So you need to focus on the user. The second thing you need to do is collaborate. So your user story is a tool. It facilitates collaboration and communication. So back in the waterfall days, you were focused on documentation. Now you're focused on communication, right? So you need to talk. So back in the day, you'd be in your little office area writing requirements to your heart's content, and then the developers are over here writing code to their heart's content, and nobody talked. So there was always like miscommunication. I didn't understand the requirements. I thought it meant to do this. But now, with Agile, it's all about communication. That's a very important thing. And so you're talking a lot, you're communicating a lot, you're collaborating a lot, and therefore you reduce the likelihood of misunderstandings, and you don't wait until the end of the project to figure out that you didn't understand or it wasn't done the way you thought it would be done, and then there's a lot of problems. So collaborate. That's a very important second point. So third, add acceptance criteria. This is very important. So your user story is just like a few lines. As a user, I want some kind of functionality so that I can have some benefit, right? That's just a one sentence user story, but you need to add meat to it by having an acceptance criteria, which is going to itemize all of the conditions under which needs to be true for your user story to be considered complete. This will help your developers to know what to code. It will help your QA people to know how to test. So it's very important to have your acceptance criteria, and the acceptance criteria needs to be itemized and numbered so you can refer to them very quickly and very easily. The fourth thing you need to have in a good user story is to make sure it's at the right level of detail. This means that you don't want to make your user story too complex. You don't want to make your user story like very, very difficult to estimate. Like if you find yourself explaining a lot in the sprint planning when you have a user story, this is way too complex. It needs to be broken down. So the rule of the game is small pieces that are easy to estimate and easy to code. Bite-sized pieces of your functionality. You don't want to have one long, big functionality in there. It's just way too much. It should really be a feature or an epic, but it shouldn't be a user story. The other thing is, and the fifth and last thing is to make sure user story is visible, right? People need to see it. So if you work in the same area or the same location and you're all on the same team, then you could probably have your whiteboard and you can stick up your post-it notes, or you can shuffle your cards around and everybody can see the user story. If you're working in a remote environment where everybody's in different countries or different locations, that might be much harder to do, but you can get a tool, like a lot of people use Jira or some other online tool that you can use so they can see the user story. The point is, don't bury your user story in network drives and SharePoints and people have to be digging to find it. It needs to be seen. So there you have it. Those are my tips for writing good user stories. Again, focus on the user, collaborate, add acceptance criteria, use the right level of detail, and 5 but not least, to make the user story visible. So again, thank you very much for checking me out. I am Karaleise at karaleise.com. I have an article on this, so go check that out as well. And I really appreciate you watching this video, and I hope that you subscribe. All right, take care. Bye-bye.